Ladies and gentlemen, so many women secretly ask themselves if their vagina is too small, and that thought plants a seed of insecurity that grows into shame, doubt, and silence. Society has conditioned us to measure ourselves against unrealistic standards that were never meant to define us in the first place. Porn, media, locker room talk, these are the places where myths are born, not truths about the body. The myth of a vagina being too small is not only wrong, it is destructive, because it tells women they are inadequate when they are already enough. Every vagina is unique, just like every fingerprint, and uniqueness should never be mistaken for defect. There is no universal size that a vagina should be compared to, because the body is designed with natural variety. The idea of being too small implies that there is some kind of universal mold to fit into, and that is simply not reality. Vaginas are not one size fits all. They are living, adaptable, beautiful parts of the human body. The very anatomy of a vagina is built to accommodate change, flexibility, and adaptation. To believe it could be too small is to underestimate one of the most resilient and remarkable structures we have. Vaginas are not rigid spaces. They are elastic, muscular, dynamic, and they transform depending on arousal, age, hormones, and life experiences. A body that can stretch to accommodate childbirth cannot be dismissed as too small. A body that can respond to pleasure and relaxation cannot be dismissed as incapable. The myth of being too small is nothing more than a social weapon used to make women second-guess themselves. When women internalize this myth, they begin to disconnect from their own pleasure, believing they are not built for it. When women believe they are too small, they feel broken when there was never anything broken about them to begin with. The phrase too small is a comparison against a false standard, often drawn from pornography where exaggerated anatomy is presented as normal. Porn does not show the full spectrum of human intimacy, and yet many measure themselves against it, not realizing it's entertainment, not education. A woman watching these images may feel she cannot compare, forgetting that pleasure and intimacy have nothing to do with looking like a performance. A partner who worries about her being too small has been miseducated, not because her body is inadequate, but because their understanding of bodies has been shaped by myths. Vaginal size is not a competition. It is not a standard to reach. It is simply anatomy responding to context. Vaginas at rest can be just a few centimeters deep, yet during arousal the walls lengthen, widen, and adapt. The language of too small ignores the fundamental truth that arousal transforms the vaginal canal into an adaptable, welcoming space. Fear of being too small often arises not from reality but from moments of pain, discomfort, or resistance, and these moments are more often about arousal, trust, or technique than about anatomy. When someone says they feel too tight, they are often experiencing tension, anxiety, or lack of readiness, not a flaw in size. This myth does not survive when you truly understand physiology because physiology proves that the vagina is capable, strong, and never inadequate. Every woman who believes this myth carries unnecessary weight because what she needs is not doubt but reassurance. The cultural narrative of being too small is a subtle form of control, teaching women to second-guess their worth, their desirability, and their power. Vaginas are not meant to be measured, they are meant to be celebrated. No doctor, no lover, no stranger should ever convince a woman her vagina is not enough. The comparison is always unfair, because no two partners, no two bodies, no two experiences are alike. When you believe the myth of being too small, you are surrendering your body's truth to someone else's illusion. When you rise above the myth, you reclaim power, pleasure, and freedom over your own experience. The truth is that most discomfort has nothing to do with smallness and everything to do with preparation, arousal, and connection. The truth is that the vagina is already equipped with the ability to adapt, expand, and accommodate with time and care. The truth is that you are not broken, not flawed, and never too small. The truth is that your body has been misunderstood and misrepresented by the myths you were taught. The power of education dismantles this myth because once you know the truth, you can no longer be trapped by the lie. Vaginal size myths thrive in silence, but they die in honesty, conversation, and education. You cannot compare the complexity of your body to staged images or careless words. You cannot shrink your confidence because someone told you your anatomy wasn't enough. You cannot allow myths to rob you of pleasure, intimacy, and confidence. You must understand that your vagina is not too small, it is simply yours, and that alone makes it enough. Women deserve to feel proud, not ashamed, of what their bodies are capable of. Women deserve to feel celebrated for their natural variation, not pressured into fitting an impossible mold. Women deserve to know the truth that they are built to experience pleasure, to adapt, to respond, to embrace, and to enjoy. The myth of being too small has hurt too many for too long, but truth has the power to heal that wound. Every time a woman believes she is too small, she carries fear into her intimacy. Every time she carries that fear, she disconnects from the very joy her body was made to feel. Every time she disconnects, the myth wins. But when she sees the truth, when she learns that her vagina is elastic, capable, resilient, and adaptable, she begins to reclaim her pleasure. She begins to understand that size is not the measure of intimacy, readiness, and connection are. She begins to realize that what she once believed was a weakness is actually a sign of her body's strength. Vaginal myths dissolve when exposed to light, and once dissolved, women can finally see themselves clearly. You are not too small, you never were too small, and you never will be too small, because your body is designed for exactly what it was meant to do. The vagina is one of the most extraordinary examples of natural elasticity in the human body, and yet so many people underestimate its power. Elasticity is not just a physical feature, it is proof of adaptability, strength, and resilience. When you hear the word elastic, you may think of something simple like a rubber band, but the vagina is far more complex and intelligent than that. Its tissues are layered with muscle, collagen, and blood vessels that all work together to expand, contract, and reshape themselves depending on what the body needs. At rest, the vagina is a narrow muscular canal, but in moments of arousal, it changes shape, becoming longer, wider, and more open to receive. This transformation is not forced, it is natural, effortless, and instinctive, designed to respond to stimulation and intimacy. The very fact that the vagina can expand to accommodate a penis, a toy, or even the passage of a baby during childbirth is proof that the concept of being too small is biologically flawed. No structure designed with this much flexibility can ever truly be inadequate. Elasticity means your body knows how to protect you when you are at rest, and how to embrace when you are ready. Elasticity means you are never stuck in one state, you are always capable of change. The vaginal walls are not rigid, they are made of rugae, soft folds that allow expansion without damage, folds that stretch and then return, folds that prove this part of the body was never meant to be fixed or limited. Every single act of intimacy relies on this natural elasticity, yet so many women fear they are too tight or too small without realizing their body is literally built to transform. When you are not aroused, the body is sending a signal, not yet, not ready, not safe. But when you are relaxed, when blood flow increases, when arousal takes over, the tissues soften, the muscles loosen, and the space expands. That is not weakness, that is wisdom, your body protecting itself until the moment is right. The myth of size collapses when you understand elasticity, because elasticity explains why one body can adapt to so many different experiences without being harmed. Your vagina is not a static box to measure, it is a living, breathing system that changes depending on context. That change is not random, it is controlled by nerves, hormones, and blood flow that prepare you for intimacy. The body literally works with you, adjusting to your needs, responding to touch, expanding with desire. Elasticity also means recovery, because just as the vagina can stretch, it can also contract, returning to its natural state after intimacy, after childbirth, after dilation. This is why no woman should ever believe she is permanently too loose, or permanently too tight, because elasticity is a built-in balance. The muscles of the pelvic floor add to this strength, contracting to hold, relaxing to release, always keeping equilibrium. The more a woman understands her natural elasticity, the more she understands her power. No toy is too much when used with care. No penis is too big when met with arousal and patience. No childbirth leaves her permanently broken, because elasticity was designed for all of it. The body is not fragile, it is strong, it is resilient, it is capable. Elasticity does not just protect the body physically, it also creates the possibility of pleasure. Without elasticity, intimacy would be painful, rigid, mechanical. With elasticity, intimacy becomes fluid, adaptable, and deeply personal. Your body does not need to fit a standard, because it already adjusts to whatever is given to it. This adaptability is a miracle, and yet so many women overlook it while doubting themselves. If you have ever felt too small, remember that you have only experienced your body at rest, not in its full capacity. If you have ever felt discomfort, know that it was not because you were inadequate, but because your body needed more time, more arousal, more care. If you have ever worried about the future, know that your elasticity is a lifelong gift, not something that disappears with age, but something that evolves with you. Even after childbirth, when the tissues have expanded more than you thought possible, the body begins its process of recovery, healing, tightening, and adapting again. That is the beauty of elasticity. It is never truly lost. It is always working in your favor. This resilience should not just be respected, it should be celebrated. Every woman should feel proud of how her body was designed to handle change, not ashamed of it. The fact that the vagina can stretch to the size of a newborn's head and then recover is beyond extraordinary. The fact that it can adapt to different partners, different positions, different experiences proves its versatility.
No two encounters are the same, yet the body adjusts each time, responding with exactly what is needed. That is not weakness, that is mastery. The vagina is a master of transformation, and that mastery comes from its elasticity. Too many women believe their bodies are fragile, when in truth, they are resilient beyond belief. Too many believe they will lose their tightness over time, when in truth, elasticity ensures balance between expansion and contraction. Too many compare themselves to others, when in truth, every body adapts in its own unique way, always enough, always capable. Elasticity is not just a physical function, it is a metaphor for the power of femininity itself, the power to adapt, to open, to embrace, and then to recover. It is the quiet strength that says no matter what happens, you can handle it, you can heal, you can continue. That is why no woman should ever fear she is too small, because her elasticity is proof that she can adapt to exactly what her body and her pleasure require. That is why no partner should ever pressure her, because her body's timing and readiness matter more than any size. That is why no myth should survive, because the truth of elasticity is more powerful than the lie of limitation. Every time a woman doubts her size, she is forgetting the gift of elasticity that makes her limitless. Every time she compares herself to a standard, she is ignoring the wisdom of her own biology. Every time she believes she is too small, she is denying the miracle of her own adaptability. Your body is not too small. It is elastic, strong, resilient, and endlessly capable, and that truth will always be more powerful than any myth. The mind is often more powerful than the body, and nowhere is this more obvious than in sexual experiences. So many women believe their vagina is too small, or too tight, when the truth is that it is their mind that is holding them back. The muscles of the pelvic floor and vaginal canal respond directly to signals from the brain, which means tension, anxiety, and fear can literally shape the experience of intimacy. When you feel nervous, your body reacts by tightening, just like your shoulders tense when you are stressed, or your jaw locks when you are angry. This automatic reaction has nothing to do with being too small, it has everything to do with your mental state. If you enter intimacy with fear, your body mirrors that fear, creating resistance where there should be softness. If you carry shame, your body reflects that shame, making it difficult to open and receive. If you worry about pain, your muscles prepare for pain, and the cycle becomes self-fulfilling. This is not a flaw of your body, it is a misunderstanding of how deeply connected your body and mind are. The vagina is not an isolated organ, it is an extension of your nervous system, responding moment by moment to thoughts, emotions, and feelings. When you are relaxed, safe, and aroused, your body expands with ease, proving once again that smallness is not the issue. When you are guarded, tense, or distracted, your body resists, proving that psychological factors are often the real barrier. Many women are never taught how much the mind controls their experience of intimacy, which is why they blame their bodies, instead of addressing the stress and fear inside them. A woman who believes she is too small may not realize she is simply too anxious. A woman who feels discomfort may not realize she is not yet aroused enough. A woman who struggles with penetration may not realize her mind has triggered her body into protective tension. This protective tension is a survival mechanism, a sign that your body is trying to shield you from something it perceives as unsafe. That perception may come from past trauma, lack of trust, or even just performance anxiety, but the body does not know the difference. It simply reacts. The phrase too small becomes a false label for what is really psychological resistance. To change the experience, you must change the mental state, not the anatomy. Foreplay, relaxation, communication, and emotional safety are not luxuries, they are necessities, because they allow the mind to signal the body that it is safe to open. Without this psychological readiness, no amount of physical preparation will be enough. The body cannot bloom if the mind is closed. This is why education is so important, because once women understand that their body is not broken, they can focus on healing the mind. Once they see that psychological factors are powerful, they stop blaming themselves for something that was never their fault. This understanding transforms the way intimacy feels, because instead of forcing the body, they learn to soothe the mind. Deep breathing, mindful relaxation, and trust building with a partner are not just techniques, they are medicine for the nervous system. They tell the body it can let go, it can soften, it can expand. When the mind surrenders fear, the body surrenders tension. When the mind embraces pleasure, the body embraces penetration. When the mind trusts, the body responds with openness. This harmony is the key to experiencing intimacy without the false narrative of being too small. The challenge is that many women have internalized shame around their sexuality, so even when their body is capable, their mind blocks them. They may have grown up hearing sex is wrong, dirty, or painful, and those messages carve deep grooves into their subconscious. They may have experienced a partner rushing, ignoring foreplay, or dismissing their discomfort, and those memories become stored as triggers of fear. They may have suffered trauma, and their body learned to protect itself by tightening, by resisting, by holding on. None of this means they are too small. It means their mind has learned to survive by controlling their body. The work is not about fixing the vagina. It is about freeing the mind. When women release shame, they release tension. When they learn patience, they learn pleasure. When they feel safe, their body responds with trust. Partners also play a huge role, because psychological safety is often built in the way a partner touches, listens, and respects boundaries. A partner who pushes too hard makes the body resist, but a partner who waits, who nurtures, who reassures, allows the body to open. This is why communication is the most powerful aphrodisiac, because it tells the mind it has nothing to fear. Every time you feel too small, ask yourself not what is wrong with your body, but what is happening in your mind. Are you carrying guilt or trauma that has not been addressed? The answers to these questions often hold more truth than any physical measurement could. The mind has the power to turn pain into pleasure, resistance into release, and fear into ecstasy. That power is already inside you, waiting to be understood. When women learn that psychological factors are shaping their experience, they begin to see intimacy in a whole new light. They begin to prioritize relaxation over performance, connection over speed, safety over expectation. They begin to recognize that their body was never the problem. It was always the stories in their mind. And when those stories change, everything changes. Intimacy becomes easier, more fulfilling, and more pleasurable when the mind and body are aligned. The myth of being too small dissolves when you realize your body is just reacting to your thoughts. The myth loses its grip when you take control of your mental state. The myth no longer holds power when you teach your mind to let go of fear and embrace trust. The body is a reflection of the mind, and when the mind is free, the body follows. Sometimes when a woman feels her vagina is too small, it is not a myth or a psychological block, but a medical condition that needs to be understood. The body can carry conditions that affect the way the vagina responds, and these conditions can create real discomfort that feels like smallness, tightness, or resistance. But even here, it is never about inadequacy. It is about awareness and treatment. One of the most common conditions is vaginal growth, a powerful involuntary spasm of the vaginal muscles that makes penetration painful or even impossible. Vaginal growth is not a reflection of size. It is a neurological and muscular reaction, often tied to fear, trauma, or anxiety. A woman with vaginal growth may feel like her vagina is closed, like it cannot open, no matter how much she wants it to. But that is not because she is too small. It is because her muscles are protecting her in the wrong way. Another condition is vulvodynia, chronic pain around the opening of the vagina that can make intimacy unbearable. This pain can feel like burning, stinging, or tearing, and it leads many women to believe something is wrong with their anatomy, when in fact it is a medical pain disorder. There are also hormonal changes that affect the elasticity and lubrication of the vagina, especially during menopause, postpartum, or after certain treatments, like chemotherapy. These changes can make tissues thinner, drier, and less flexible, which can create the illusion of smallness, when the real issue is lack of lubrication and hormonal balance. Scarring from surgery, childbirth, or injury can also reduce flexible, making expansion more difficult and painful. Endometriosis, pelvic inflammatory disease, or other gynecological conditions can create pain during intimacy that convinces women their body is too tight, too small, too broken.
But these conditions are not failures of the body. They are medical realities that deserve compassion, understanding, and treatment. Every one of these conditions can be managed, treated, or improved with the right care, but too many women suffer in silence, believing it is their fault. They are told by partners, by culture, by ignorance that they are too small, when the truth is that they are carrying a condition that needs healing, not judgment. The tragedy is that silence deepens shame, and shame stops women from seeking help. When a woman does not know that vaginismus can be treated with therapy and dilators, she blames herself. When a woman does not know that hormonal changes can be balanced with medical support, she assumes her vagina is failing. When a woman does not know that scarring can be improved with pelvic floor therapy, she carries unnecessary pain. The myth of smallness grows stronger when education is absent, but education dissolves it instantly. When you know the body is complex, when you know conditions are possible, when you know treatment exists, you stop blaming yourself and start seeking solutions. There is no shame in experiencing these conditions, because they are not weaknesses, they are part of human health. The same way the heart can face illness, the same way the skin can scar, the same way the joints can stiffen, the vagina too can face challenges, and none of them mean you are inadequate. Medical conditions do not take away your worth, they simply require attention and care. Partners must also understand this truth, because too many partners assume difficulty with penetration means their partner is too small or not aroused enough, when in fact it may be a condition that requires patience and empathy. A partner who understands supports healing, but a partner who blames deepens trauma. The body is not too small, it is sending a signal that something is wrong, something needs attention, something needs care. Pain is not a sign of failure, pain is communication. Discomfort is not proof of smallness, discomfort is the body asking for healing. A medical condition is not a punishment, it is simply part of the human experience, and it deserves the same respect and treatment as any other health issue. When women recognize this, they free themselves from shame. When women seek help, they discover that their bodies are capable of more than they imagined. Orgasms can improve with therapy and gradual dilation. Vulvodynia can be managed with medication and treatment. Hormonal dryness can be relieved with lubricants and hormone therapy. Scars can soften with time and physical therapy. These are solutions, not limitations. These are pathways to freedom, not proof of smallness. Every condition has a way forward, but the first step is breaking silence. The more women speak, the more myths die. The more they learn, the more shame dissolves. The more they seek help, the more they realize they were never too small. They were simply uninformed or unsupported. The medical truth is always kinder than the myth, because the truth says you are not broken, you are treatable, you are resilient, you are enough. Doctors, therapists, and educators must continue to break the stigma around vaginal health, because silence is the soil where myths grow. Women deserve to know that pain is not normal, that resistance is not their fault, that tightness is not smallness. Women deserve to know that help exists, that treatment is possible, that healing is real. Partners deserve to be educated too, because intimacy is not about forcing but about understanding. A couple that knows the difference between smallness and medical conditions becomes stronger, more compassionate, more connected. Intimacy becomes less about frustration and more about patience. Healing becomes a shared journey instead of a lonely struggle. A vagina affected by a condition is not a failure, it is simply a body asking for care. No woman should ever believe she is too small, when the truth is her body is signaling her to seek healing. No woman should ever carry the weight of shame, when the truth is she deserves treatment, not judgment. No woman should ever silence her pain, when the truth is her voice can lead her to freedom. Medical conditions do not define a woman's worth, they do not erase her beauty, they do not diminish her capacity for love, intimacy, or pleasure. They are challenges, but they are not definitions. Every time a woman mistakes her condition for smallness, she hands power to a myth. Every time she understands the condition, she reclaims her power. Every time she seeks help, she steps closer to healing. The body is not too small, it is complex, intelligent, and sometimes in need of care. So often when a woman feels her vagina is too small, the real issue is not her body at all. It is the dynamic she shares with her partner. Compatibility is not just about physical fit, it is about rhythm, communication, patience, and mutual respect. A body cannot fully relax into intimacy without trust, and trust is built when a partner listens, when a partner takes time, when a partner values pleasure over performance. Many women have been told that they are the problem, when in reality the issue lies in poor communication or lack of understanding from their partner. A partner who rushes, who ignores foreplay, who treats intimacy like a goal to finish, instead of an experience to share, will always create tension in the body. That tension is then misinterpreted as being too small, when the truth is the woman was never given the chance to open in the first place. The vagina is not a lock to be forced open, it is a space that responds to invitation, care, and connection. When a partner is impatient, the body shuts down, but when a partner is gentle, the body blooms. Compatibility is not about size matching, it is about energy matching. A large penis does not mean painful sex if the couple communicates, prepares, and explores together. A small penis does not mean unsatisfying sex if the couple understands that pleasure is not limited to penetration. When partners are in sync, bodies adapt with ease, because the mind is calm and the heart is engaged. When partners are out of sync, bodies resist, because the nervous system interprets the encounter as unsafe. This is why a woman may feel too small with one partner, but completely comfortable with another. Her anatomy did not change, her level of trust, arousal, and compatibility did. This truth should shatter the myth of smallness once and for all, because the body proves it is not about size, it is about connection. The most powerful sexual organ is not the vagina or the penis, it is the brain, and compatibility is what brings the brain into alignment with the body. A partner who listens when you say slow down creates safety. A partner who pays attention to your breath, your moans, your subtle reactions creates understanding. A partner who values your comfort more than their ego creates trust. Trust opens the body, trust allows arousal, trust creates the space where expansion feels natural and pleasure feels possible. Too many women believe something is wrong with them because they never had a partner patient enough to truly see them. Too many women blame their anatomy when the real issue is that their partner never learned to communicate. Too many women shrink into silence thinking they are inadequate, when the truth is they are simply unmatched with the person who refuses to honor their needs. Compatibility is not luck, it is built through effort, curiosity, and care. It is created when two people learn to read each other, to talk openly about what feels good, to explore without judgment.
A woman is never too small when she is with someone who values her experience as much as their own. She is never too small when her partner understands that foreplay is not optional, it is essential. She is never too small when her partner knows that arousal takes time, that her body deserves patience, that her comfort is the foundation of their pleasure. Every time a woman feels too small, she must ask herself if the real problem is incompatibility, not anatomy. Every time she feels pain, she must ask if her partner truly gave her the time and care her body needs. Every time she doubts herself, she must ask if she has been carrying the weight of someone else's failure to connect. The myth of smallness collapses when you see how different experiences can feel with different partners. The same body can feel pain with one partner and ecstasy with another, not because the body changed but because the connection did. This is proof that the problem was never size, it was always compatibility. A partner who understands will make you feel more open than you ever thought possible. A partner who respects your pace will unlock levels of pleasure you did not know existed. A partner who treats intimacy as collaboration instead of conquest will make you feel safe enough to expand, to soften, to let go.
Compatibility is the secret ingredient that makes the difference between pain and pleasure, between fear and freedom, between doubt and confidence. Without compatibility, myths thrive, but with compatibility, myths die. Partners must realize that their role is not just physical, but psychological and emotional too. They must realize that their touch communicates safety or danger, that their words build trust or break it, that their patience creates space or closes it. A partner who blames a woman for being too small is not just ignorant, they are cruel, because they are projecting responsibility onto her instead of taking responsibility for their role. A partner who truly loves, who truly desires, who truly cares, will never make her feel inadequate. They will only make her feel celebrated. That celebration is what turns intimacy into connection, what turns sex into passion, what turns a body into a vessel of pleasure instead of a site of pain. Women must remember that they have the right to demand compatibility, that they are not obligated to endure discomfort for the sake of someone else's ego. They must remember that they deserve partners who are patient, who communicate, who care. They must remember that intimacy is not something done to them, but something shared with them. They must remember that their body is not too small. It is simply waiting for the right connection to reveal its full capacity. Partners who match energy, who sync rhythms, who share vulnerability will always create pleasure greater than size could ever determine. That is the truth that kills the myth, that intimacy is not about fitting in, but about fitting together. Exploration is the bridge between fear and freedom, and when it comes to intimacy, exploration done safely can transform the way a woman experiences her body. Too many women live with the fear of being too small, too tight, or not enough because they have never taken the time to explore themselves in a way that builds confidence and comfort. Safe exploration is not about forcing, it is about guiding the body gently into trust. It is about learning your limits, honoring them, and expanding them at your own pace. The body cannot open to experiences it has never been introduced to, carefully, and this is why gradual exploration is such a powerful tool. The use of dilators, for example, is not a medical punishment, it is a gift, a way of teaching the vaginal muscles that they can release tension, that they can expand without pain, that they can adapt in their own time. Exploration with lube is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of wisdom because lubrication is the language of comfort and pleasure. Exploration with toys is not about replacing intimacy, it is about building familiarity and control, giving you the freedom to understand your own anatomy before sharing it with anyone else. Safe exploration allows you to teach your body that it is not too small, it is simply waiting for the right signals, the right care, the right patience. Every step you take in exploring your body is a step in rewriting the myths that were planted in your mind. Every time you insert gently, breathe deeply, and allow yourself to relax, you are proving to yourself that your body is capable of more than fear ever told you. Every time you use lube to ease discomfort, you are reminding yourself that pleasure should never be about pain, that tools exist to make the journey smoother. Every time you use a dilator or a toy to gently stretch and train, you are showing yourself that growth comes with consistency, not with force. Safe exploration is the key to turning your vagina from something you fear into something you celebrate. Too many women enter intimacy without ever having taken the time to explore their own body, and that lack of self-awareness leaves them vulnerable to doubt. When you do not know yourself, every challenge feels like a flaw, but when you know yourself, when you've explored, when you've practiced, every challenge becomes just another step toward comfort and mastery. Exploration builds confidence, and confidence is the antidote to the myth of being too small. Confidence tells you that you are in control, that you can decide the pace, that you can guide your body instead of blaming it. Confidence grows every time you try, every time you practice, every time you see progress. Safe exploration is not about rushing to a destination, it is about embracing the journey of learning your body. There is no timeline, no competition, no comparison, only you and your own progress. The more you explore, the more you realize that your body is not fragile, it is resilient. The more you explore, the more you realize that your body is not too small, it is adaptive. The more you explore, the more you realize that your body is not broken, it is simply waiting to be understood. Safe exploration can also mean practicing relaxation techniques like deep breathing, meditation, or pelvic floor exercises, which help the body release tension and open more naturally. Kegel exercises are not only for tightening, they are also for control, and with control comes the ability to relax as much as you can contract. That balance is the essence of safe exploration, because true comfort is found when you can move between holding and releasing with ease. Exploration is also about communication with a partner, about creating an environment where you can say stop, slow down, or not yet without fear of judgment. Safe exploration requires safe partners, people who respect boundaries, who support your pace, who celebrate your growth instead of pushing you past your limits. With the right partner, exploration becomes exciting, playful, and liberating. With the wrong partner, it becomes pressure, fear, and silence. That is why choosing safe exploration also means choosing safe people. No one has the right to rush your process. No one has the right to define your pace. No one has the right to make you feel less than for needing time. Safe exploration honors the fact that your body has its own timeline, and it will open when it is ready. You are not too small, you are simply on a journey, and exploration is the path forward. Imagine how different intimacy feels when you know your body, when you trust your body, when you've trained your body to adapt with ease. Imagine how much confidence you feel when you walk into intimacy knowing you've already done the work of exploration. Imagine how much freer you feel when you can say yes to pleasure without the shadow of fear. That freedom is the gift of safe exploration, and it is available to every woman willing to give herself the time and care she deserves. Exploration is not selfish, it is self-love. It is not indulgence, it is education. It is not weakness, it is strength. To explore safely is to reclaim control over your body, to take back the power that myths and fear once stole from you. To explore safely is to say I trust myself, I trust my body, I trust my process. To explore safely is to declare that I am not too small, I am simply evolving, growing and expanding in my own time. Every small step of exploration adds up to transformation, and transformation is what kills the myth of inadequacy. The woman who explores safely will never again believe she is too small, because she will have felt with her own hands, seen with her own eyes, and proven with her own body that she is enough. Body confidence is the armor that protects you from myths, comparisons, and insecurities, and without it even the strongest body will feel weak. Confidence does not come from someone else telling you that you are enough. It comes from you deciding to believe it every single day. A vagina is not too small, too big, too loose, or too tight. It is simply yours. And when you embrace that truth, you reclaim the power that society tried to strip away. Every body is unique, and uniqueness is not a flaw, it is a signature. The folds, the textures, the depth, the way it responds, none of it needs to match a fantasy, a video, or an expectation, because reality is far more beautiful than fiction. Confidence grows when you stop asking if you measure up, and start realizing that there is no measurement that defines you. Confidence is the voice that drowns out comparison, silences shame, and replaces fear with self-acceptance. Without confidence, every touch feels like judgment, but with confidence, every touch feels like celebration. The truth is that your body was never meant to compete with another woman's body. Your body was meant to express you, and only you. Confidence is not arrogance, it is not ignoring imperfections, it is seeing them, accepting them, and loving yourself with them. Confidence is what turns doubt into desire, insecurity into power, and shame into liberation. The woman who owns her body will always feel freer than the woman who hides from it. Confidence is not born overnight, it is built with small acts of self-love, with moments where you choose to admire instead of criticize. Confidence comes when you stand naked in front of a mirror and say I am worthy, even if your mind wants to argue back. Confidence comes when you learn to touch yourself with curiosity instead of fear, when you take time to understand what feels good and what does not. Confidence comes when you reject the idea that your worth depends on performance, tightness, or perfection. Confidence comes when you remember that pleasure is not about looking a certain way, it is about feeling deeply, honestly, and fully. A confident woman radiates energy that no insecurity can dim, and that energy makes her irresistible because it is real. Confidence does not mean you never feel doubt, it means doubt no longer controls you. It means you may hear the voices of comparison but you refuse to let them decide how you feel about yourself. Confidence is not waiting until you are flawless, it is realizing that you are already enough as you are. When you enter intimacy with confidence, your partner feels it, because confidence communicates safety, trust, and openness without words. When you lack confidence, every experience feels fragile, but when you own your body, every experience feels like discovery. Confidence allows you to guide your partner, to say what you need, to stop pretending and start living. Confidence turns sex into connection instead of performance, into joy instead of pressure. Confidence lets you celebrate your body, even on the days it feels imperfect. Confidence is the foundation of pleasure, because pleasure cannot bloom in a mind filled with shame. Confidence is not just about sex, it is about walking into every room knowing you deserve to be there. It is about holding your head high, about feeling comfortable in your skin, about never apologizing for existing. The myth of being too small dies the moment you decide to believe that your body is capable, powerful, and beautifully made. Confidence allows you to replace fear with curiosity, to replace self-doubt with exploration, to replace insecurity with gratitude. Confidence reminds you that your vagina is not a problem to be fixed. It is a part of you to be honored. Confidence allows you to see that beauty is not found in comparison, it is found in authenticity. Confidence is the difference between shrinking in silence and speaking with strength. Confidence is the ability to laugh at imperfections, to embrace flaws, and to still feel whole. Confidence makes you unstoppable because it makes you unshakable. Every time you practice self-love, you build a brick in the wall of your confidence. Every time you reject shame, you grow taller in your own truth. Every time you embrace your body as it is, you silence the lies that the world has whispered to you. Confidence is not given, it is claimed, and it is claimed through action. You cannot wait for someone else to give you permission to feel worthy. You must decide for yourself. Confidence means deciding that your body is not an apology. Confidence means choosing to see beauty in your reflection instead of flaws. Confidence means believing that your pleasure matters as much as anyone else's. Confidence means refusing to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's standards. A woman with confidence is untouchable because she no longer seeks validation outside herself. Confidence is the fire that keeps you warm when doubt creeps in. Confidence is the shield that protects you from cruel words and toxic comparisons. Confidence is the sword that cuts through myths, through fear, through shame. Confidence transforms intimacy into empowerment because it teaches you that you deserve to enjoy, to receive, to be fulfilled. Confidence allows you to say yes when you want to and no when you need to. Confidence makes your body a source of pride instead of anxiety. Confidence is the difference between existing and thriving. When you embody confidence, you become magnetic, not because of perfection but because of presence. People are drawn to the woman who radiates self-acceptance because she reflects what they secretly wish they had. Confidence cannot be faked for long, but once it is built, it cannot be stolen. The moment you believe in your body, others will follow, because energy is contagious. Confidence makes the question of being too small irrelevant, because you no longer measure your worth by size, by fit, or by comparison. Confidence makes you unstoppable in love, in intimacy, and in life. Confidence is your birthright, and the moment you claim it, the world bends differently around you.